So for us amateurs, usually making these miter joints at the top of your door can be kind of challenging. And I'll show you a really quick trick here that I picked up off a Vancouver carpenter that has made this job 8,000 times easier to get really nice, tight, consistent joints, as well as having a really nice reveal all the way down. So usually the tricky part with this is that your door corners aren't necessarily 90 degrees. And so they might be, 90.5 or whatever, and then that gets you to a case where you have a gap like this, of course exaggerated, or a gap like this at the end. And for us amateurs, that can be kind of hard to correct. And so you end up, filling this with putty or caulk or something like that and kind of calling it good. Now, a trick that I just picked up is using Instabond. So what this allows you to do is this allows you to cut the miters at 45, glue them together, and create a really, really, really strong glue joint between those two. And then that way you can cut everything at 45. You pre-assemble all of your casings for your doors or windows. And then when you put it up, if you need to pull the length of the door to the side a little bit, because you need to open up that gap, you can bend the MDF a little bit, and it leaves your corner joint here really nice and tight. Alright, so it's really easy to do. It comes in two parts. So there's a glue that's kind of like your crazy glue, except it won't stick to your fingers right away. And then this is the second part. So you put this on the one half and spray this on the other half, and then put them together. You gotta work pretty fast. You don't have a lot of time to slide it around, but bonds in 3 seconds, and it does exactly that. We'll just add, we'll do 2 lines. And you spray the other half. And put them together. There you go, you got a nice, really tight miter joint. And don't mind the fact that I spliced a piece on here. This piece is going into a mechanical room, so I'm a little less worried about the final fit and finish of it. But really with using this Instabond product and gluing them, you know, as an amateur, just with a miter saw and leaving your miter at 45, you can get really perfect finished miters. And then you can just basically use a little bit of force to adjust for that small degree in difference, rather than using a regular wood glue and, you know, trying to get them perfect in place and nailed, and then letting the glue set just as sort of a longer term type adhesive. So you can see you don't really have to be gentle with them once you glue them together, and so that does make it a lot easier when you're trying to get them in place. Again, you know, our miters are still looking good. That one I still need to sand. This one I knew was going to kind of hide behind the pipe work here. And so we'll start by setting our side to side on the top, right here and right here, as well as making sure that this is nice and smooth and consistent, and then we'll worry about the bottom. Now you'll be able to see up here we've got a pretty tight reveal, and as we work our way down, that reveal is getting quite a bit larger. Now that's because that angle at the top isn't quite perfect, but what we can do is just grab it and move it in. Now, if we'd done this the old way, with cutting our miter perfectly, we probably would have had to go back and cut that miter a couple of times in order to get this so it was straight and then matching up there nice and smooth. So this does save you a lot of time, and it allows reduces the skill level required to get professional results. Here's another example where the Instabond will be a big savior for myself, and hopefully for you as well. So here I'm doing an outside corner, and it goes about 30 inches in this direction and about 65 or so in this direction. And I've cut both these miters exactly at 45, or at least 45 on the stops on my saw. The saw might be off a little bit, but I'll show you how that doesn't really matter. Now, here's the problem. So that would be great if this corner was 90 degrees. And so I got that one flat on there. And you can see down here, I got quite the gap. So normally if you're doing it the old way, the old school way, you'd have to keep adjusting the miters on your saw in order to get this miter here to match the angle and the curvature of the wall. But we're not going to do that. We're going to do it at 45. We're going to use the Instabond, and then we're going to use the inherent flexibility of the MDF trim to make up that difference. So I have cut them long. So the trick with this, probably if you're doing it the traditional way as well, is to cut them long first, and then we'll fit them. So I'll sneak up kind of on the fit, and then I'll show you before we bond them what it looks like. Alright, so I've got these trimmed to length, and you can see right now I got a bit of a gap down here because the wall is a little bit out of true. And then I've got pretty decent gap out here as the wall kind of curves in on this side, and then I've got the same thing happening here. So what we're going to do is we'll use the Instabond trick on this off of the wall, and then we'll slide it onto the wall as one piece, and we'll compensate for sort of the drywall that's a little bit out. Alright, so I just did the Instabond joint here, and as you can see we've got a really tight miter and everything's lining up really good. And I'm going to just hit the top with a little bit of sandpaper and the edge here real quick, just to take off the sharp edge, and then we'll push it into place. there you go, guys. We got a outside corner, really nice finish on the joint. We didn't check, or we didn't need to check whether the whether it was at 45 or whether it was at 90 or not. We just cut them at 45, glued them, and then nailed it to the wall and made up that difference. So there is never a slight gap there, and same here, but some caulk before painting will finish that off. If I did have more to secure too, that is something that can be closed up. but I've just got drywall there, so I don't really have much to attach to. So hopefully this tip saves you some time and gets you some better results. And if you did enjoy this, please like and subscribe. There you go. So now that's not on together.